folks, and welcome back to another ranking video. After seeing the reception of the Avenger ranking video, I figured it was time to do another one. With one of the famous trio now covered, it's time to do the second one, which in this case would be Gravedigger. Since Gravedigger is the most famous monster truck on the planet, I figured it would be right to do it next. Anyways, without further ado, kick your shoes off and relax. Grab some popcorn, some snackies, and a drink of your choice, and let's get started. Just like with Avenger, Gravedigger has 32 different designs that it ran throughout its lifetime, which is quite a lot. Starting off the list with one of my pictures at number 32 is the 40th anniversary Gravedigger. What this truck would turn out to be is a standard Gravedigger with a few design changes, like with the Gravedigger logo and the 40th anniversary sticker. The reason why the 40th anniversary Gravedigger is at the very bottom of the list is for one reason and one reason alone, which is the lack of effort that went into this particular design. As a budding graphic designer, the lack of effort is very obvious to me. For Gravedigger to run 40 years on the circuit, which is a big milestone for that year, they could have gone all out with a special anniversary design, but they just didn't. And that's why the 40th anniversary design is at the very bottom of the list. Jumping back a decade, at number 31, we have the 30th anniversary design the entire Gravedigger fleet ran in 2012. Just like with the 40th anniversary Gravedigger, the 30th anniversary design is at the bottom of the list because of the lack of effort. Not all of the fleet would run this standard 30th anniversary design, which is the one iota of credit I can give this particular design above the 40th anniversary, but quite frankly, the lack of effort on this one is also the reason why this fleet 30th anniversary design is close to the bottom of the list. At number 30, we have a more recent design. This is Gravedigger Stars and Stripes that ran at the most recent World Finals in Salt Lake City. I will say that this is a decent design. Unfortunately though, Feld missed the mark when it came to doing a Stars and Stripes scheme for Gravedigger. The red and blue colors for the graphics are vibrant enough to get your attention, but there is one glaring flaw with this design that makes it go towards the bottom of the list. The fact that it's missing the Gravedigger ghost on the side. Instead of having the ghost, there is exploding fireworks on that particular area of the truck. Another issue that drags this design down is the way the body looks on the chassis. And you're going to hear that a lot in this video, but this particular body on a green chassis just doesn't look right. If they did something else with the design where the fireworks is, in addition to maybe having this on a red, a blue, or a black chassis, that would make this design a little bit better, but because of the execution of this design, it's near the bottom of the list. At number 29, here is one of the original Gravediggers from the late 90s. This one in particular debuting in 1998. This is basically the catalyst to what Gravedigger would look like in the coming years, but with this particular design, there was just a lot of things that needed to come together before you really get my attention when it comes to a design for a monster truck. At number 28, here is the 20th anniversary Gravedigger that ran throughout the season in 2002, as well as at the World Finals. I really like the idea behind this particular design for an anniversary truck, but the execution on it wasn't the best. The purple fog around the Gravedigger name, as well as the 20th anniversary logo, I really like that, but the fading strokes around the tombstones on the bottom half of the truck, I'm not particularly a big fan of that. If they just use a solid stroke on the tombstones to bring them out from the flames on the bottom of the truck, that would make this design a little bit better, but the execution of this design wasn't the greatest, and that's why it's basically just beyond the 30s spot on the list. At number 27 is Gravedigger Orange that Weston Anderson ran at World Finals 22 and World Finals 23. Just like with the previous spot, I like the idea of this design. The execution was just not the greatest. Especially when it comes to the orange Gravedigger face on the side, it kind of clashes with the other bright colors around it. And just like with Gravedigger Stars and Stripes, this particular design does not look good on a green chassis. If it was done on an orange chassis, it would have been a lot better, and you're going to see what I mean here coming up here in a little bit. At number 26, this is Gravedigger Neon that ran at the Superstar Challenge in 2023. This is a unique design with using lighter shades of colors for the design, like red for the text, the orange for the flames on the hood, a lighter shade of purple for the graphics on the side, but the neon green that they chose to use for this truck, I'm not particularly a big fan of it. If the Gravedigger team would use a slightly darker green, like make the green on the truck just a smidge darker, that would make this design a lot better, and that alone would have put this design a little bit higher than it would otherwise, but because of the neon green, it's basically midway through the 20s when it comes to how I feel about this design. At number 25 is the red Gravedigger that Brandon Vincent drove at World Finals 22. As opposed to the orange Gravedigger that ran this year at the World Finals, the red color that they used for the flames and the Gravedigger face don't really clash with your eyes nearly as much as the orange did. Then again though, unfortunately they put this body on a green chassis, which doesn't look right. If the chassis was painted red, that would make this design far and away much higher up the list, but considering that this is basically a copy and paste design, it is not too high up the list. But it's better than the orange one, so I'll give it that. Moving up the list at number 24, this is one of the original Gravedigger monster trucks that ran throughout the early 90s. This design is almost identical to one of the original Gravediggers, specifically Gravedigger 2, but I wanted to use a different picture as it's not too much different from that truck, and I want to make my list stand out. For our first paint job for your monster truck, this is a solid design, and what I really like about it in this picture is that it looks like it's an airbrush finish. That kind of adds a different element, a different flavor to the Gravedigger design. At number 23 is one of the first, quote, special designs that Gravedigger would use throughout its lifetime. This one in particular is the Gravedigger that ran at the 2000 World Finals, specifically World Finals 1. It wasn't particularly too different from the design that the Gravedigger team was running throughout the late 90s, but the flames on the roof of the truck make it stand out. To me, the flame stickers on the roof of the truck is a nice addition as opposed to having a standard black roof. I really like this paint scheme, although it's a product of its time, so that is the reason why the special design for the 2000 World Finals is barely making its way out of the 20s spot on the list. At number 22 is a similar truck to the orange design that we saw earlier, but this is the one that Morgan Kane drove at the 2016 World Finals when he won the racing championship. I alluded to this when I was talking about Weston Anderson's orange design in the modern day, but the orange design that Morgan Kane got was executed far and away better. You can see what I'm talking about when it comes to matching the design on the body with the chassis, but they also went the extra mile to add orange rims, and they left out the orange on the Gravedigger face. This is a cool design, and it could be a lot higher, but there's a lot of other good paint jobs coming up next that I think you would enjoy. At number 21, this is the paint job that the entire Gravedigger fleet would run throughout the late 2000s and into the 2010s when it wasn't an anniversary year. And if the red shocks and purple beadlocks are a dead giveaway to you guys, this is Pablo Huffaker's truck. When it comes to a standard paint scheme that the entire fleet would use, this is a solid design. When it comes to the green color that they were using at the time on the chassis as well as the flames, it was a little bit of a darker green, kind of like a dark, desaturated green. It's a simple paint job, and I think that this is a good one to use for the entire fleet. However, something about it could have been done a little bit better, and that's what holds it back into the 20 spot. Fittingly, at number 20, we have a World Finals design. This is the purple Gravedigger that ran at World Finals 16 that Colton Eichelberger drove. We just crawled out of the bottom half of the list, and I think number 20 is a fair spot for this particular truck. I really like the shade of purple that they used for Colton Eichelberger's Gravedigger at this particular time. However, it's a very simple design, which basically keeps it to the lower half of the list, but number 20 is a fair spot for this special design. Following the special purple design at number 19, this is the modern day Gravedigger. This particular paint job hasn't seen too many changes over the years, which I'm kind of generalizing here, but in retrospect, this particular paint job debuted circa 2014 and has continued to be used to this day. When you look back on what the Gravedigger fleet used throughout the late 2000s and early 2010s, and when you compare it to this, the vibrance of the green basically stands out between the two. The more vibrant shades of green that they use on Gravedigger today, I believe fits the design and fits the basic feel of Gravedigger much better than the desaturated green that they used previously. And considering that this is the paint job that each Gravedigger uses every single weekend, number 19 is a fair spot for the entire fleet design in the modern day. At number 18 is an interesting one, as this is technically a replica of the original Gravedigger, but I would like to give this one a mention, as this is the Grandma Gravedigger that the team has used for encores and just recently used for competition at the most recent World Finals in Salt Lake City. I mentioned this particular aspect of the paint job when I was talking about the original Gravedigger, but the airbrush effects on this particular paint job is on full display here, and I really like that. The airbrush effects on the graphics for this paint job are on full display here, and definitely captures the retro, spooky look that Gravedigger used to have during its early years. Now, I know replicas are not nearly as good as the original paint job, but like I mentioned earlier with the airbrush effects and the, toned out green colors, definitely makes this replica look just as good, if not better, than the original. Following the Grandma Gravedigger at number 17 is the 25th anniversary paint job that was used for the entire Gravedigger fleet throughout the main season. This is a very simple design, as it doesn't add too much to the standard Gravedigger paint job that they were using at the time, but honestly, that's what makes this paint job work. They really only added two special logos to the standard Gravedigger design, that being the since 1982 ribbon on the hood, as well as the 25th anniversary ribbon underneath the Gravedigger name. The two ribbon decals on this paint job basically give this paint job some Easter eggs. Like, if you weren't really paying attention, you would think that this is a regular design, but it really wasn't. It was only ran during the 25th anniversary year in 2007 throughout the main season, and it's a solid paint scheme for an anniversary truck that's not a World Finals design. Following the 25th anniversary regular season Gravedigger at number 16 is the special purple Gravedigger that ran at World Finals 22 and 23 that Tyler Menninga drove. Out of all the colored Gravediggers that ran at World Finals 22, which was my first World Finals that I ever witnessed live, this was my favorite out of the bunch. I really like the shade of purple that they used for this special design, as it fit the truck really nicely. Again though, another verse, just like the first, this paint job would look so much better on a purple chassis, and you'll see what I'm talking about here coming up in a little bit, but number 16 is a fair spot for this paint job. Right smack dab in the middle of the list at number 15 is the standard Gravedigger fleet design that was used in the early 90s. This one in particular was the one that Dennis Anderson drove. When it comes to all of the early designs that Gravedigger used at that particular time period, this one is my favorite, where the desaturated greens and the ghost on the side with the Gravedigger logo stacked on top of each other definitely completes the spooky look that Dennis was going for at the time, and it's a paint job that I personally really like. This might be a controversial one, but at number 14 we have the Split Fire and Ice Gravedigger that was debuted in 2024, but they only used this particular paint job as a display truck. Considering that the fire and ice themes on the real circuit have been gone for a number of years now, to bring this back, I personally really liked that. I really like the idea of having both the fire and ice bodies on the same truck, but personally, I don't think it looks that great when you look in the middle. Like, if you're looking straight on at the truck, it's a little much for your eyes, but number 14 is a fair spot for just a one-off design that they didn't even use on the real circuit. At lucky number 13 is Gravedigger Fire. This particular paint job was ran at the All-Star Challenge in 2019. You saw a little bit of a sneak peek with the split design that I just showed you, but just by itself, I think this is a really solid scheme. The shade of orange that was used for the flames was a nice color. They made the Gravedigger face in orange. They used black for the text, but with a darker orange stroke with the flames. And the tombstones look like they're encased in lava, and I think that's a nice touch. This is another design that I really like, but when it comes to the fire trucks, I think it would have been a little bit better to make the black less shiny, give it more of a matte finish. That would make the oranges and the reds stick out a little bit more, but number 13 is a relatively decent spot for this paint job. At number 12, we have another paint job that ran throughout the regular season. This one in particular being the chrome design that Dennis Anderson ran throughout the 2016 and 2017 seasons. When it comes to this paint job, the stickers on the sides of the truck are basically the standard stickers that they use for Gravedigger, but the base color is chrome, and I think that's a nice touch. If you either saw this truck live or saw it on TV, in certain shots, it looks like the basic standard design that Gravedigger was using up to that point, and in certain shots, the chrome would expose a little bit more, and I think that's a neat Easter egg that this design had. This was also the truck that ran at the World Finals that year, and when you compare his run to his son's run, specifically Adam Anderson's, Dennis Anderson's was much more deserving of the World Championship, and a lot of people can agree with me on that. We are just outside of the top 10, but at the number 11 spot, we have the final of the colored copy and paste Gravediggers that ran at World Finals 22 and 23. This one being the pink one that Kristen Anderson ran. The shades of pink that the Gravedigger team used for Kristen Anderson really stuck out to me. When you put this one side by side with the purple one that also ran at those two World Finals, the colors are basically almost identical, but the pink one looks like a brighter purple. Even though the purple Gravedigger was my favorite out of the colored Gravediggers that ran at the World Finals I went to, I think that the pink one is just as good, if not better, than the purple one that ran that year. But can you imagine what this design would have looked like if it was on a pink chassis? If it was on a pink chassis, this would have easily been pushed up to the top 5, but because it was on a green chassis, it sits just outside of the top 10, but very solid color choice for this design overall. We are just inside the top 10, and I wonder how many people thought this one would end up in the top 10. This is Gravedigger Nitro that ran alongside Gravedigger Neon at the Superstar Challenge in 2023. When it came to the two specially painted Gravediggers that ran for this event, the Nitro one was the better of the two. The very light shades of blue, a little bit of green, and the lighter shades of purple used for the graphics on this truck makes this paint job pop, and I can definitely see this as being one of the best. Unlike all of the other copy and paste Gravediggers we have seen throughout this list, the colors on the paint job don't clash with the colors of the chassis nearly as much as all the other ones did. Even though the paint job and the chassis don't clash nearly as much as all the other ones, but can you imagine what this truck would have looked like on a lavender purple or a blue chassis? That would give this design some seasoning, but as it is, number 10 is a solid spot for this paint job. At number 9, we have Gravedigger Ice, which ran alongside Gravedigger Fire at the All-Star Challenge in 2019. Gravedigger Fire was a decent design, but when you compare it to this one, I mean, just look at it. How can you not like this paint job? The shades of blue that they used for this paint job fits the theme really well. The Gravedigger name looks like it's frozen in ice. The flames look like they're ice. You got snow above and below the tombstones. This is a solid design for the fire and ice theme that ran throughout the year. And number 9 is a really good spot for this paint job. This is one of my personal favorites. Moving right along at number 8, we have another one of my personal favorites. That being the green Gravedigger that ran at the 2015 World Finals that Charlie Pauken drove. When I look at this paint job, it makes me think that this is basically a inverted Gravedigger with the really nice bright green with the purple flames. This is a solid design for differentiating the other drivers on the Gravedigger team as opposed to the main driver, Dennis Anderson. In addition to the solid design, Charlie Pauken did a really good job at this World Finals, making it far into the racing bracket and having some iconic moments during his freestyle, so that kind of gives you a memory rush with this particular design, and that's why it goes up towards the top 5. But we're not in the top 5 just yet. Following the green Gravedigger, at number 7 we have another colored Gravedigger. This one being the purple Gravedigger that ran at the 2016 World Finals that Cole Vennard drove. I alluded to this paint job when I was talking about Tyler Menninga's purple digger, but Cole Vennard's purple digger was better than Tyler's in my opinion. The purple that they used for the flames, the chassis, and the beadlocks made this Gravedigger stand out from the other ones that also ran at this World Finals. This is a relatively simple design, and this is when the Gravedigger team started to use the copy and paste technique, but even though this was the first time they used that technique, it was executed really well on Cole Vennard's Gravedigger, and it deserves to be just outside the top 5. Sitting just outside the top 5 at the number 6 spot is the purple 30th anniversary design that Dennis Anderson ran throughout the main season. This basically took Gravedigger and did something really cool with it. Instead of using the ghost on the side of the truck, they used the face of the mascot of the Gravedigger team, Grim, and made that the main focal point. That is my personal favorite aspect of this paint job, in addition to the shade of purple that was used and the silver flames. This was one of two special Gravedigger designs that Dennis ran throughout the 30th anniversary year, but this is the second best out of those two, and you'll see the other one here coming up in a couple of spots. We are now inside the top 5, and we are getting into the masterclass for Gravedigger paint schemes. And starting at number 5, we have the Chrome 25th Anniversary Gravedigger that ran at the World Finals. This paint job allegedly took 5 days to complete, and unfortunately it got destroyed in freestyle, but that doesn't matter because this is a masterclass when it comes to making a design for an anniversary truck. First and foremost, the chrome is really bright, so it definitely gets your attention. The Gravedigger name has been elongated and scaled up to fit the side of the truck, in addition to the 25th anniversary ribbon below it. But also, it removed all the other tombstones on the side of the truck except for Dennis. I really like the chrome design for the 25th anniversary Gravedigger, but we got 4 more Gravediggers that are just as good, if not better, than this one. So let's take a look and see what they are. At number 4, we have the special World Finals 30th Anniversary Green Gravedigger. This basically took the special design that was ran throughout the main season and turned it up a notch. They darkened down the green color that they used for the base and made it a little bit shinier. And they also made the face on the side as well as the Gravedigger text 3D. And that alone makes it one of the best Gravedigger designs, period. This is all around a solid design to use for the World Finals to commemorate Gravedigger's 30th anniversary, but I didn't like this one nearly as much as another design which we'll see here in a little bit. At number 3, taking the bronze medal spot, is arguably my favorite Gravedigger of all time. This is the 30th anniversary green design that was ran throughout the main season. Now, some of you might think that this is a little bit strange to put the regular season Green Digger over the World Finals 30th Anniversary Green Digger, but honestly, when they had the brighter shade of green on this truck, it fit this design so much better. It got your eye. It made you follow the truck pretty much everywhere it went. And it took the purple 30th anniversary design that was also running throughout the main season and made it better by using the green. And that is why the 30th anniversary Green Digger that ran throughout the main season takes the bronze medal spot. At number 2, taking the silver medal, is arguably everybody's favorite Gravedigger, the Green Ghost Gravedigger. This was basically a one-season wonder design, as it only ran for 1 year and pretty much never came back, although one of the other Gravedigger drivers on the team ran a 25th anniversary variant of this truck, but we're not counting that because it's basically the same truck with just a few minor changes. However, the Green Ghost design basically took the regular Gravedigger and added seasoning to it by making the ghost green with the glowing evil red eyes, adding the flame designs on the side of the truck, and using the desaturated green that they were using at the time. Everything about this truck is just perfect, and if I'm being completely honest with you guys, when Dennis Anderson came up with this design, I thought it should have stuck this way forever. This was a solid design that Dennis Anderson was using at the time, and it took the entire monster truck community by storm, and every single fan in attendance who saw this truck live or even know this truck exists argue that this is their favorite Gravedigger design of all time. Finally, at number 1, taking the gold medal, is the World Finals Purple 30th Anniversary Gravedigger. We basically took a huge leap from the green to the purple, as purple does a lot better when you darken it down as opposed to the green. And the purple coloration on this truck is just perfect. And you can see a little bit better with the extra elements that they added with the 3D face and the 3D text. I also find it kind of ironic that 4 of the top 6 were 30th anniversary Gravediggers, and that comes to tell you they were really cooking when it came to the special designs for the 30th anniversary, and this one, in my opinion, is the best out of that bunch and the best Gravedigger of all time, and nobody can change my mind of that fact. This is a 10 out of 10 design. I might even bump it to an 11 out of 10. There you go, folks. That is the total list. I was not expecting Gravedigger's video to be quite as big as the Avenger video, as Avenger is more well known for its different bodies and designs, but I had a fun time making this video too. Let me know down in the comments section how would you rank Gravedigger's paint jobs from worst to best, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Until next time, this is All Ohio Railfan, signing off.